I want to start with a story. As mentioned before, I started my career in broadcast journalism. My very first job was in this tiny town in way upstate New York, like 35 miles south of the Canadian border. And it was my first job. And the station was new, so everybody was green. And we really wanted to make an impact right out of the gate in the community. So the news director thought we should do a series for the upcoming rating period where we show people how to get out of a burning house. Now, the fire department loved this idea. They were going to do a controlled burn anyways to knock a house down to build a Walgreens. So we collaborated with them, and we would put cameras in different areas. Outside the house looking in, the porch, this is a room with the door open, this is a room with the door closed, and it was my job to get in a bucket truck, and I was in the back of the house, and I was up on the second floor, and I was the room with the door closed. So I don't know what's happening because I can't see anything. The fire department and the TV station also didn't know what was happening because they forgot I was back there. So without warning, all of a sudden, I get jerked back. Someone must have just gotten into the bucket truck, slammed on the gas, and drove me away. So I was no longer in danger. Now, they told me that was a traumatic experience and I should take, the day off and just kind of relax for the rest of the afternoon. So that's what I did. The PR person for the TV station wanted to take a picture of me. So she did. Now, this is the important part of the story. I had a girlfriend at the time, and she just got a job for a big corporation in Boston. Thousands of employees, hundreds of people walking by her desk all the time. And she was new, but as you learn when you go into a new company, you start to make friends. You start to have dialogue. So she's in the break room one day and talking to a group of people, and the topic of significant others comes up. So she says, "My boyfriend is a broadcast journalist." And there was this look of confusion on everybody else in the room, and like an audible, collective gasp. So my girlfriend was like, "I don't understand, what's the problem here?" They're like, "Thank God he's not a firefighter, because what we were talking about, this guy must be the worst firefighter in the history of firefighting, because who stops to take a picture when a house behind them is in flames burning down?" So this was my first lesson that's kind of shaped my career ever since, that there's a huge difference between perception and being perceptive. So the perception there is reality. I'm a bad and most likely negligent firefighter. But someone who's perceptive is going to look at that photo and say there's more to this story. There's got to be some context around it. So in looking at these traits, I wanted to find out what trait is more valuable to people, being smart or being perceptive. Now, if you have a scenario and you know what you need to do, obstacles, goals, tasks, it's a very easy question to answer. But I didn't want to give people the opportunity to say, well, if I'm doing this, I want this, or if I'm doing that, I want that. So I came up with a scenario, and I asked friends, colleagues, founders, CEOs, business professionals, an NFL Super Bowl winning head coach, much to the dismay of my daughters, people in line at the grocery store, and when we were boarding a plane for Florida. And what I posed to them was this: there's a hole in a boat. Now, a smart person could fix the hole and stop the boat from sinking. A perceptive person may not be able to fix the hole, but they could probably spot the hole before even getting in the boat altogether. So what would you rather be? The person who could fix the hole or the person who could spot the hole? And as you'd imagine, the responses were what you would think. You know, people talked about when they were with data, math, physics, engineering, we're going to gravitate towards smart. People that were politics, marketing, branding, consulting would, you know, gravitate towards being perceptive, which, you know, isn't earth-shattering news. It kind of fits the game plan there. Medicine was actually a little bit of both. But I asked a follow-up question. And the follow-up question was, the people who are perceptive, could I argue that all the people who are perceptive could be taught to fix the whole, but not all of the smart people could be taught to see the whole? And surprisingly, about 40% of the people asked to change their answer just for this specific scenario. So I found that interesting. What was even more interesting is what AI thought. Now, that follow-up question to me, I could not wait to ask AI to see if it would change its answer. However, it couldn't get to that point because AI chose being perceptive. They wanted to see the whole. That was really confusing to me. How could AI do that? And I asked AI, if you're going to maximize yourself, what is it going to take? More smarts or more being perceptive? And this is what AI told me. They're choosing to be perceptive because if they're perceptive, it allows AI to take in real-world complexities, ethical dilemmas, human emotion, and if they're just smart, they pointed out that being smart has limits. And if you're trying to advance society, smart AI would help you solve problems, but perceptive AI is going to help you avoid them. And also, if they were just smart, they're only analyzing data. If they're perceptive, they're analyzing people. Now, depending on your view of AI, that's either great news or it scares you to death, but they're analyzing people. So what I wanted to do is take this notion and see how it applied to some real-world thoughts, theories, practices where people are using perceptiveness over being smart. And I found a few examples. One is with the military. These two Marines wrote a book on a philosophy they were taught called the left of bang theory. Now, bang represents a critical incident or a violent act. And the notion behind it is you want to stay to the left of that. And you do that by being perceptive, observation, awareness, behavioral analysis, trying to recognize patterns, and you're avoiding danger. Where on the other side, it's reactive. You're handling what just happened. So they rather be proactive than reactive, and that puts them in a better situation to succeed. So another example, we can talk about Toyota. Toyota teaches a training method to their managers called Gensi Genbutsu, which translated to English means like, go and see for yourself. And the notion that Toyota had was their managers shouldn't listen to secondhand reports. They shouldn't get data from other people that they didn't do themselves, that they need to go and see it. Go to the factory. Talk to people firsthand. That way, you're going to be able to make the right decisions because you've witnessed everything yourself. Now, what's interesting about all of this is we're talking about AI and how we advance it to the future. Toyota started doing this in the 50s and 60s. So they had a different logo back then. But it was so effective that decade over decade, companies like Nike, Amazon, McDonald's, Starbucks, they're all using it. And also, of course, Apple. You know, to me, Steve Jobs is one of the most perceptive people in the history of the world. And what Steve Jobs was able to do, he was able to figure out that we needed a product that we didn't even know we wanted yet. Better yet, we didn't even know we needed it. So what he did was, for the first time, he took what was previously like a strictly technical experience, and applied human emotion to it, thus the iPhone. So when looking at that, if you're intelligent, you can create a great product. So thank you, BlackBerry. If you're perceptive, you can create a great company. So I asked earlier, can you be taught to be perceptive? And personally, I believe that there's some traits that are innate, you just can't teach. But there are things, like when you saw left of bang in the Toyota method, that incorporate some of these attributes. Being more observant, obviously. With my fire picture, if you asked yourself, what other variables am I not considering here, you might not have thought I was a really bad firefighter. Collaboration is key. Not just in being smart or perceptive, but just in anything in society. You should not always be the only voice. And when you're not talking, you should actively be listening. So, I think my voice just cracked. Who's the better problem solver? Both can solve problems. They just go about it differently. They have their strengths, they have their weaknesses. The strengths for the smart people is that analytical thinking. The strengths for the perceptive people is that contextual awareness. So each one can get to a solution in their own way. But when I presented the boat scenario, that was either or. Fortunately, we don't live in an either-or society. So for us, we get to use both and incorporate both because both are valuable. The goal of what I was talking to you today about was which one was valued more. And the interesting thing is there's no wrong answer. People gravitate towards their strengths. So the people who are analytical thinkers and data scientists, they're going to go to what their strengths are. Like, trust me, like if somebody doesn't know how to fix a hole in a boat, that's the last person I want trying to fix it. So in knowing this, when we talk about being perceptive, and I think by this point you could tell that I feel I'm a highly perceptive person, but I'm also smart enough to know that I can't do anything alone. So I kind of live by this mantra, and I'll leave you with this. I firmly believe that if you surround yourself with the right people, you'll always be able to achieve your goals. But if you surround yourself with smart people, you can exceed them. Thank you very much.